Hello, good evening, and welcome to episode 10 of Tag Talk. Tonight we are joined by Spectre, Darren, and Ben. We're going to discuss the recent Fancy Impact Blasters Anarchy event. I'm just going to hand it straight across to Darren as he was one of the individuals running the event. So on you go.
Well, that label I think went more to Lady Nerfa than me or Ross. We chipped in as and when we quieted, but it was mostly Lady Nerfa that ran it due to numbers. Basically, it was the idea came about initially from I can't remember what last event we went to, but we'd been to an event, me and Ross, and we came back and we're just generally chatting between the three of us, and we said, well, we need more events up north, up this way, because everything seems, all the bigger stuff seems to be, apart from obviously Dishforth, seems to be set down south, and that's where it kind of parked for probably a few months until one day, Lady Nerfa turned around one day and went, "How would you feel about running another event?" I said, "What?" And basically then elaborated on to the fact that she'd been reaching out to some various airsoft sites in the northwest area, and of which only a couple had really responded or were even remotely interested in hosting us or holding us. Excuse me. And albeit the obviously Anarchy, they came back with the most enthusiasm. One particular evening, Susan and Lisa, the lady that one of the owners of the Anarchy site, ended up chatting backwards and forwards on whatever platform they're on, whether it was WhatsApp or Messenger. I can't remember which one it was now, but they're at it for like 3-4 hours into the evening discussing things and whatnot. So that's where the idea was originally born. We arranged a date to go down and have a look at the site. We'll be 100% brutally honest. When we first walked in and saw it, we were like, "Oh, in hell, what on earth?" Because it was set up for their. They were about to run a speed airsoft tournament. They'd run a few times before, and they were about to do another one. So it was set up predominantly for that. To give you an idea, basically, as you walk through, this is more prominent to the other two. As you walk through the entrance into the arena, through the curtains, you could literally stand there, fire a dart, and you would bounce it off the back wall. It was pretty much that open. So we're like, okay. I was very dubious as to whether it'd work. But that being said, we pushed forward, put everything in place, advertised it, got interest. People bought tickets. Communication from the site was a bit hit and miss. And then obviously the day came that we turned up for the event. And they said, "Oh, by the way, we haven't told you, but we've had a bit of a rejig downstairs." This was, I can't remember his name, but it was Lisa's husband that met us there and opened the place. And we went down that, "Oh, okay, we're going to have a look at this." And we went down and had a look. And instantly a massive weight was lifted because I was really, really dubious and concerned as to how the day would play with the arena that we looked at previously. And we walked in there and we saw the arena that the guys played in, and we were like, "Oh, thank God, this is massively better, and showed us a few pointers and pointed out the spawn points being right next to each other, side by side, which I've never thought of before, but that was a really that was a quite a comical touch for banter backwards and forwards between the teams. And then we went from there, and the day turned out to be a really good day.
I know it's when I wasn't attending due to circumstances, but I know when I saw some of the videos that they'd actually got on their Facebook page, that was one of my biggest apprehensions was it appeared like everything was chest high cover. And
Yes.
that was like, my knees wouldn't survive that. And of course, having a look at BenDy's video that he took during it, yeah, it was if I'd been expecting chest high cover and gone in to see what we'd seen, I'd have been massively relieved there and then. I just thought,
Yeah.
right, we can do something with this. I was just about to say, what was the actual feelings about the venue itself and how it was set up from
Um,
our two silent
the general
guests?
consensus from everybody that was there that it was a good setup. Everyone said they enjoyed the day. Everyone said they enjoyed the venue. Um, the owners themselves, Lisa, she was there in the later part of the day. She spent a good chunk of the evening and afternoon into the evening, going around talking to all the different people that were there, chatted away with them, and we had a chat at the end. They are massively eager to carry on um, and to host more venues, to which we have got one booked in with them for next month. We're going to try tweaking things a little bit with the um, age age limits and the FPS. We'll drop the FPS because we're going to allow younger players in. We're toying with the idea of potentially alternating. So, you know, next obviously the next event will be we'll have the youngsters in, not young, still going with an age limit of 14 and over, and 16s and under have to have an adult with them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's not because, like we said to ourselves, it's we're not a daycare, so you can't, like, for example, turn up, drop your kids off, and bugger off. You have to stay. So, but I don't think there's anybody within our hobby scene anyway that does that anyway. Pretty much everybody that plays or has kids that play themselves anyway. So we're going to have a crack at that one, see how that pans out. Obviously, due to the smaller players, we're going to drop the FPS limit and see how that pans out, see how that plays, and then maybe go down the route of alternating. So have a high FPS one, low FPS one, high FPS one, etc., or see how it goes. The 200 one might be dropped slightly, so say like a more around the 160 ish. We don't know yet. We're still toying with ideas. All we do know that is obviously Lisa is massively excited for us returning and bringing you guys, the collective nerf scene, with us. They're on about expanding their safe zone. There's a door at the back near to where the sort of like the kiosk was, where they sold and had a small top shop. There's a door at the back of that. I think it had a leather sofa in front of it at the time. Apparently, there's a door there, and they're on about potentially spending a bit of money and opening that room. There's a room behind there, opening that up for increasing the capacity of the safe zone, or making sort of like a, I don't know, modelling area / something along like. They're really excited anyway. I'm very eager to keep this going forward. So we'll have to just see how it goes. Let's say we've got another one next month. I'm going to try a few things differently, and then we'll go from there.
You two, anything to chip in about the thoughts on the venue itself?
So I really liked the venue. Like there were definite things about it that made it play in a very interesting way. The fact that the two spawn points were next to each other but were separated by like full cover, like you couldn't just like turn and fire into the spawn. They had like a perspex window so you could see each other, but you had to progress out into the and you would cover like down 2/3 of the arena, splitting the arena into two halves. I think it was. I mean, it was commented on by pretty much everybody that one of the two spawn points, like one side of the arena, felt slightly better to be spawning from. Like it was a slightly unbalanced arena, but it wasn't massively unbalanced. Like it one and as the day went on, I think that balancing became less and less obvious because as people learned how the arena played. Um, like you had to you basically the team on the left hand side of the arena as you were kind of starting from the spawn point had to push out and go into their left space and out past the sort of entrance door to really kind of get control over the wider space, because if you didn't move quickly you would end up getting pinched across the arena. But as the game went on, as the day went on, as people learned how the arena played, I think it became less and less of a concern. Like I can think of a couple of ways that you could potentially change the arena to balance it more effectively. But honestly, in a lot of, particularly with a lot of the way the rounds were going and the way the guys from FIB were running it, you were mostly playing one side and then the other. So you were playing the game twice and spawning from both sides, and you had like an aggregate score, so it kind of balanced itself out anyway. Um, I personally quite liked the higher FPS. Um, I wouldn't suggest dropping. Like, I absolutely agree that for games where you have younger players, like when you've got to the 14 plus and similar, it wants to be dropped because you could play one duel, you could play 100 FPS in that arena and have zero issues. The games would play very differently. The advantage that the higher FPS gives isn't about it's about speed of dart to target and accuracy of a relatively inherently inaccurate projectile. If you've put more power behind it, you get less deviation. So accurate shots, like being able to, there's a couple of different places in the arena where there are like murder holes that are kind of small gaps and so forth. Whereas with a higher power blaster, you can thread that needle, and I found that led to a very particular style of play. Um, my my feeling on that is I would probably, if you were going to reduce it, I would be suggesting 180 rather than 160. But that's purely because the average, the general kind of top end speed of an FDL when turned up to full power is 180. So it just is way less faff. And also, like I will be upfront about this. The two Springer blasters that I brought with me, the two AEGs, are both hitting 175. So I I like the fact that, like, and particularly when we a lot of the people that are coming to these games are also people who play Dishfith, and Dishfith has a 200 limit. I think there's an argument that could be made there that so long as it's kind of up front and people decide, like, as long as people know what's coming, I don't think it's unreasonable to have a higher FPS limit for 18 plus games. Like, I'm not suggesting that there's anything wrong with playing at lower FPS, but I think, you pay your money, you take your choice. I think it changes the way the arena plays, it changes the way that we play, and certainly I think 200 or like 180 would be a good higher limit, and like 130 or one duel for the lower limit, personally. But I accept that I'm probably in a minority.
I I can certainly see where both sides are coming from. Um, One of the things that it is really nice is when you get a shot going on target through a gap. Spectre, you've been to Nerf Mania. The ability to shoot through the windows in the train
Yeah.
is of course those are quite significant holes compared to the ones that I'm presuming you're discussing there. But getting a shot through that one and tagging somebody on the other side is just a lovely feeling, you know. BenDy, yourself?
Thoughts about the arena. So this is Anarchy was my first like indoor Nerf game. I've other than that, I've always done either stuff at Dishworth or stuff with friends, and when I invited other people from the coin server like yourself, David, and to the farm.
Mhm.
Um, I've played like an indoor game with some airsofters where I was using my milsig, for instance. But even then, it was more open than Anarchy. Now, I liked. I didn't know what to think when I signed up and paid for Anarchy because it's not generally my kind of game. And credit where it's due, I think the site was set up really well for what it was. I also liked the idea of the spawns being on one side of the whole room, separated by a good, like, I think it was like maybe 7 feet tall wall or something that, even I couldn't do anything. There was a gap at the top, but with no grenades, what am I going to do? I'm not just going to chuck a
Grenades would
grenade in
have
the spot.
massively changed the way that arena played.
I
Like
was,
the
yeah,
number of times I heard, "Oh, my kingdom for a flashbang."
when when it was obviously said that grenades weren't allowed at all. Um, I'm a bit hesitant, but to be honest, I think grenades may have ruined it. It's so close that like. And being indoors, I would have felt bad if I was using my BFGs. And
Oh, oh, no. Oh, you'd have
knowing,
all come with that death with tinnitus, mate.
yeah, knowing that, some people have, like 5, 6 cap grenades or anything, I think it would have just been even more hectic and it would have been a bit painful to play. Not physically painful, but, just I think you'd get sick of it quick, to be honest.
Yeah.
I do agree, the first few games you do feel as though the two spawns had slight unfairness, like one way. But after a few games you realise what angles people will hold and running through certain gaps will get you shot. So you quickly learn not to do that at this place. Um, but ultimately it's an ex-social club, so you can't expect um, you can't expect much.
Yeah,
Like
they're kind of limited. Like for an arena that size, it's got a lot going on. They've done
yes,
a really
that
really good job with it.
that's what I mean. Like for what you expect, like I expected worse. I'll be honest, and for going in and seeing what cover there was, it felt a lot larger in a way than it actually, I suppose, is. Because they've just done that good, like that well a job with all the cover,
Mm.
a good mix and stuff. There's maybe some tweaks here and there, but if they've just rearranged it like that, you can't blame them for trying it out, I guess.
You try
Um,
out something, and if it works, it's fine. And if
yeah,
it
yeah,
doesn't, you can tweak it again. And as you said during the pre-show thing, the scenery isn't bolted down; it's freestanding, and therefore would be very easy to
yes,
move things around as well. So potentially every
Um,
time you go along, the layout could be different.
yeah,
they actually had a tally mark on one wall, which is times we've changed this arena, and it was in like 15, 16 digits. So
oh, I
they're
can't
it's
say I
it's
noticed that.
it's going to be. I think it's going to be like it was with the Foundry, where we're going to show up next time and it'll be different.
So every time's
Possibly,
going to
yeah.
be fresh.
I'm
Second
all
Devil.
for that.
Sorry, Dazzle, I didn't hear what you said.
I said, yeah, quite possibly. They said that they've stumbled upon a layout that they quite like. They were really happy that it went down so well with us. We were predominantly the first people in there on that new layout because they haven't had many people in at all since their FiB Airsoft thing that they had running. So they were really pleased and really happy that it went down so well with us.
Guinea pigs.
Effectively, yeah. And I was after getting general feedback initially from everyone saying how much everyone was enjoying it. We fed that back to them saying pretty much how you've got it now plays to our style i.e., nerf, perfectly.
Yeah, I think
So if you're going to change, don't change massively. Just do little tweaks here and there. So they've took that on board, and they've pretty much said that the arena as a core will probably not change massively. They'll just do little bits here and there, and when they think of it.
I think the one piece of feedback that I would give then would be the tower that's in the center, kind of 2/3 of the way up.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way into that tower from the left side, whereas there's
Mm-hmm.
so if you on the right hand side of the arena, you've got the stairs up, the stairs down, and there's a kind of little archway thing to get up in. If you put another one of those archways on the left hand side, so you could essentially get a 4-way cross through that, I think would change the arena balance enough in the direction of the blue spawn.
I think I disagree with adding another doorway in the form of a hatch. I think just 180 in the whole unit would probably solve it all more than anything. But I don't know.
So that you didn't have a hole into it from the right hand side.
Yes. So I suppose not. If you could have it, because the obviously there's one wall, isn't there? I assume when you say right hand side, you're in the spawn looking out over. That's what you mean. Yeah. If the walls next to the stairs were the same, if you could cover up the hole on the right hand side and have one open on the left, that makes sense. That would, I think, make it like dynamic enough, because then you've got the stairs where you've got cover, but then you could easily counter the people in there through a hole on your own side, or get in there.
So currently, what we've got, I don't know if I can actually get the thing to pick it up. Stupid camera. Hang on.
Draw a face. It might think it's a person.
Or I could maybe message the location and ask them to take some pictures.
That's not working. But yeah, basically, I think that tower is kind of lopsided right now, and that is the point where you get a lot of kind of aggro for the team on the what was the blue spawn. I think the one that was on the left hand side of it. Basically, if you were starting at your spawn, you had left and right, and the right hand side had all that kind of area out where the slide was and where the bar used to be. But basically you had that kind of that gap in the center, and then you had the tower. And if that second tower had another way into it from the left hand side, then I think that would change the balance enough in the right direction. But you'd have to try it and see how it plays.
I think another benefit that they could do with would be the tunnel at the back near the doorway and near the curtains. It could do with having slightly higher doorways. As someone that's 6'6", I felt as though having to get on my hands and knees on a hard floor and literally crawl through the doorways in the tunnel is a bit awkward, considering there is those murder holes that someone could plink me through.
That sounds like a skill issue for you. If I'm honest.
I wouldn't say a skill issue. It's definitely but it is an issue for me, probably more so than other people. But ultimately, hard floor. I've got a bad knee where I can't kneel on hard floors. Fair enough, I could wear knee pads and stuff. But
mate.
it would be nice.
So yeah, basically what I'm hearing is you're too tall.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
Oh, well. All right, sorry, Darren. I can't come to the next one. I'm too tall.
You must be this short to ride. No, honestly, I do think this is actually, all joking aside, I think this is really interesting, because one of the comments that I made was, I'm used to kind of playing in this when I'm playing in this kind of environment, it's usually something like a Quasar arena, which is designed for 12-year-olds, and all the holes are tiny, and it feels like they'd hit the right kind of balance for actually having adults play.
Yeah.
And you saying like, "Oh, the holes aren't big enough. I'm too tall. I'm 6'6". Wow. is really interesting.
So I think we've oh yeah, so potentially avoid going into any further sort of things regarding inevitable lowering of the tone. One thing that was interesting was the 4v4 format. So most events tend to have everybody gets a chance to reload and everybody plays in the next round. Um, and that sort of tends to be how things are. But with this event, it was a smaller arena, still had 16 players, as a cap, but it was play it two teams on and two teams off. What was the thought process behind that, Darren? And to everybody, how well do we think that one worked?
Initially, it was due to obviously venue's brand new. It wasn't the largest venue in the world, so initially it was reservations about how well 16 people all in that one space would work, and it was like, I don't know. There's across the dynamic of players. I mean, we could have alleviated that slightly by me and Ross not playing to bump the numbers up. So that would have been 14, but it still would have been 14 players in that effectively small space. So we thought, right, well, we'll try something new. And me and Ross were drafted in to bring the numbers back up to 16. So we did 4 of 4. And the idea was to try and do quick games so no one's stood about. Because obviously, depending on games and stuff like that, I've been at games before now where you're out for a duration until either the game objective's done or you respawn after a certain amount of time. And yeah, to a certain extent, standing around waiting, twiddling your thumbs, effectively, it sucks. We all want to be in there running around like idiots, throwing foam darts at each other, like grown adults. So we thought, right, well, we'll try 2 teams of 4. That allows more space. That allows more room for people to sort of like disperse out, go into the little nooks and crannies. And also, it was also to try and help with the fact that obviously we were very much aware that no one had played in there before. No one knew the layout. No one knew the setup. And we think that from how we observed it and trying to make sure that the games were quick and rotated quickly, was like a best of 2 worlds sort of thing, the best of both worlds. It gave people that weren't playing time to, as Crow mentioned and did comment on one particular occasion during the day, that he was thankful for it because it gave him time to reload without trying to go like a absolute crazy, trying to reload all your mags before you're back in again. Some games were a little bit longer than others. Some took a little bit longer.
I've just realised. Look, I was totally on brand. Look, Foam Fest.
Some people took a little bit longer to get back into the arena. But other than that, we feel it went reasonably well and reasonably smoothly, and kept things moving quickly. The tournament that we threw in there was literally for poos and giggles, and that was as you can see there, Spectre did bag himself one of them, narrowly missing out to PJ.
He was officially retired now.
Oh, is he? No, he's apparently.
No, under no
He's
circumstances I will not accept that. I will not accept that.
To be fair,
Well,
you were close, Spectre. You were very close.
yeah, half a second in it, but
Yeah, literally, there was
but
nothing
also
in it.
I don't mind losing to PJ. PJ is a good lad. No, I think the important thing to kind of point at with the kind of team stuff is I think like we did play some games later in the day that were 8-on-8 or 6v6, and it worked. But I really did, as I say, you kind of touched on it. I really liked the whole right. You do your game, you get your trigger time, and you come back out, and then you've got 10 minutes to reload and to hydrate and to do that. So rather than it feeling like everything's in a rush, you've got a little bit of time to yourself in between games to kind of organize yourself. But it was also the games were short enough that you didn't feel like you were missing out on trigger time. I think you guys hit the balance on that really, really well.
It's not the same kind of waiting as at Dishfith, for instance.
That's
Like
something.
Dishfith, it feels like
You ran it all. Something was you.
Taking credit.
Dishfith. It feels like there's decent waiting between games, and like it feels though it adds up. But here, you're not waiting. You're reloading, ready for your next game,
Yeah.
and there's no dead time because there's most of the time there's a game going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. It's not that there's a game going on that you're not part of because you've been tagged out or you've run out of lives or what have you.
Yeah.
It's there's a game going on that other people are playing,
Yes.
and you know when your next time is going to be. I think one thing that might be useful for future if that's a thing you're gonna continue to do, and I think you should, would be to be like, okay, these games last X many minutes, so we know, because it may be that this was announced and I just missed it, but I was never 100% sure how much time I had. I just know I had some time.
Yeah,
but even
as
then,
I say,
like,
obviously, if we get to do it again, and we do another one, we promise to be a little bit more polished.
I mean, you guys were great. Like, because it's been like I think the last time you guys ran a game would it have been your Impact Northwest stuff, or had you run
INW3?
Yeah,
which was pre-COVID.
Yeah, so given how long it's been since you guys have run an event, it's really good to see you guys back, and you hadn't lost a step at all.
Which, considering that effectively, the bulk of the day's itinerary had been put together pretty much 7, 8 o'clock the previous evening.
Don't tell us that. Right. No, like genuinely, like the other thing that's good about it is the fact that the nature of the community is one that where all of the games that were played were games that we knew with like the usual FiB or Anarchy twists on it. So like we all know what Duck Hunt is. We've all played Recovery, of which Duck Hunt and like all of those kind of similar things exist. We've all played Flux. We've all played King of the Hill. We've all played Team Deathmatch. So it was all about like because these are all games that we know, there's not a huge amount of what are we doing? It's oh cool, this is 10 minutes where we slot each other. Cool, happy with that. This is 10 minutes where this guy is where we're running around and collecting stuff whilst also shooting. And I think the trigger times really, I think the amount of trigger time we got, particularly when it's a whole day. Like we paid, what was it? It was 20 quid for the event, 25? I can't remember exactly.
25,
yeah. 25 quid. And we got into like we were allegedly, we started at noon. We got on site like I think a little bit before. And we were still playing at 8 p.m, 8:30 in the evening. And I don't know if there were games still going when Hazard and I left, because I know we kind of tapped out like half an hour or so before, because obviously we had to drive back to Scotland. Like there was a lot of trigger time, and
games came to effectively a hard stop, and the last bit of tidying up happened at 8:30. There was games all the way up till 8:30.
Yeah. For 25 quid, that's amazing.
The owner said we have to shut the doors at 9 o'clock. So it was like 8:30, stop, quick tidy up upstairs, make sure everything is away, and
everybody was super hot on the dart sweeping as well. Like the dart sweep, I mean, admittedly, it's quite a small arena, but I've never seen dart sweeps be that quick or that effective before.
It's easy when it's all indoors and it's all self-contained, though.
Yeah.
That's true. And it's well lit when you turn the lights on. That's
Yeah.
another thing I really liked about it. Is like you could have games in the light, and you could put the full lights on in order to dart sweep, but you could then turn the lights off and put on the ridiculous rave music. Do not let Ross DJ ever again.
No, he's got a brand new collection set up already.
Yeah.
He went down a rabbit hole one evening a couple of days ago and didn't go to bed till like 4 a.m.
Jeez.
That sounds like Ross to me.
Yep.
Yeah. So he's got a full plethora of the one that you put a preview on the on Discord with the Sillet Bang.
No.
That was a snippet of what he's found.
No.
Yep, he well and
It's
truly
fine.
disappeared down a rabbit hole that evening.
So things to purchase before I attend the next event: ear defenders. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. All right. So I think the 4v4, certainly the faster game turnaround with people being out but knowing that they're going to get back in shortly. I think that's a really good way of managing that. I think you've, like you said, best of both worlds there. What was the games that were played then?
So we started with effectively team deathmatch.
Yeah, 25 lives, I think, for the two teams for the
Go
first
out,
game.
tag, come back, press the button on the death counter, and respawn, and off you go again. Did a couple of rounds of that. As I say, first one was with lights on, so everyone could get used to the arena. And then we were like, right, okay, let's see what it's like. Let's turn the lights off. Ooh, it's dark. And off we went. So we did a few matches of the team deathmatch. Then I think we went on to the duck hunt with the ducks and the Anarchy coins. Did a few rounds of that. After that was... I honestly can't remember. Mine's gone blank.
Flux. Or did we do Flux after the tournament?
Was it
I
Flux?
think Flux was before.
Yeah, I'm
Flux
pretty
was-
sure it was TDM, then Recovery / Duck Hunt, then Flux, then which we did that too. We did that like a bunch of times. And then we had the tournament, and then we had Crap Blasters.
Yes, the rubbish blaster round. That was a giggle.
Yeah, the interesting thing about the Rubbish Blasters round was you really did kind of drive home the fact that the arena doesn't. I don't want to say that it doesn't need high FPS. I think the coming back to the earlier point, I think it plays very differently depending on the FPS level that you're firing at. But you can absolutely be running around with a Rebel arrow shooter that hits 50 FPS and have a good time.
Yeah, it still supports a good game at a much lower FPS cap.
Don't know what this is hitting, but it's rubbish because it's the kiddies version.
This is all I was using. It's got me a good few tags.
Okay. Anything else? Because I think, in terms of the list of things that we were talking about, pretty much sort of covered everything apart from the whole flywheel versus Springer choice. You know?
I think so. Flywheelers have a kind of a disadvantage in this environment because of rev up time and stealth. It's particularly in the 1v1s, particularly when it got down to the lower life ones where you are like literally stalking each other around the arena. The ability to put rounds on target without having to spin up or to give your position away with revving was definitely an important choice. I think in general, though, the semi-automatic fire was king. Like, I know that I know that at least one other player found it quite frustrating because they were using a manual prime, and
This is
unless they
Tony.
hit with um, a couple of people expressed a similar kind of, if my first shot doesn't hit, I'm dead.
I know there's the game, wasn't there, where Tony with his Swift found it unusable on the recovery one, so he just dropped the Swift and started sprinting around picking things up.
Like,
Like,
no, Tony, just we'll handle the shooting people. You
yeah.
handle the getting everything.
But that that's the issue with a pump action Springer in that kind of environment. It's very, very restricted.
I come back to AEG's arcing in that environment, and particularly with the rapid turnarounds and me not having to leave mags loaded, means that the one serious flaw with an AEG, which is if your darts have been left in a mag too long and you get misfeeds, wasn't ever an issue. Touch wood. Of course, what's going to happen next? They're going to bring them along next time, and it'll just be have more jam than a Robinson's Fruit Factory.
Anything else then? Any other particular takeaways from it?
I have to agree to disagree with Spectre. I don't think AEG is a king. I think flywheels do still have the place because I know in my experience using my T19, for instance, the spin up time is almost negligible. Like I pull the trigger and I think it's got.
T19's brushless though, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Yeah, so I would caveat my statement with Diana's are also amazing, and brushless solutions because of their negligible spin up time and the fact that the spin up and the trigger pull is the same as opposed to rev and then pull.
Mhm.
So,
but you just said flywheel first, so
yeah, no, I'm accepting that your point is valid, and I am adjusting my position slightly, and that basically the benefit I think is the ability to get accurate semi-automatic fire on the one trigger pull, which I think your blustrous blasters also achieve.
yeah, I mean, so my backup in case my T19 failed probably would have been my full length rapid strike, bullpup rapid strike, which is still two trigger, and whilst I think it might have managed, I don't think I'd have enjoyed using it half as much as my T19 because just having a single trigger and effectively doing semi-auto shots, with the potential to do full auto if needs be, and it's relatively accurate at that range.
I mean,
I think it has its place.
How loud was Rossi's very questionable soundtrack? Because Spectre made the point about stealth and flywheelers. Now, flywheelers can be quite noisy, and the particular pitch that they tend to operate at, it's not going to be completely obscured by the music, but in terms of exactly pinpointing somebody's location, when you've got this
so we
awful
didn't
music
have
going on in
we
the
didn't have
background.
tunes playing during the tournament.
Right.
But during the main, like certainly during the main game, the music was loud enough that you couldn't hear people's footsteps. So again, it was
Yes.
much less of a consideration in the general games. But in the tournament, where like it's dead quiet, dead eerie, and particularly when it's like the later stage of the tournament where you only had one life, you're literally like every kind of it was so good. Like I'm sorry if it feels like I'm kind of waxing lyrical about it, but like I felt genuinely kind of nervous the entire way through because it's that sense of like what can I hear? Can I hear their footsteps? Have I picked the right place? Have I got the right spot? Or then just that feeling of like I thought it was really good. I think again the arena plays very differently when it's quiet than it does when the music playing. And in the same way it plays very differently when it's dark and when it's light.
With the music, I really did feel as though I'd lost most of my senses because with the darkness, with the bright flashing lights, and you can't see people very well around corners necessarily, and with the loud music on the non-tournament games, suddenly I find myself just staring at a corner, waiting for someone to come round and then I'm there too long. I end up relocating, and then that's when someone comes. Classic, classic shooter timing, I guess.
So when is the next game, Dazzle? Do you have dates yet?
The next one is March 22nd. That's the next one we've got penciled in.
So when you say penciled, is that locked in, or
Yeah, pretty much.
is that limited spaces as well, or?
That I'm not 100% on at the moment. I can't remember how many places we've earmarked for that one. Susie will have more details on that one. If there isn't already, we'll get things up on.
I'm pretty sure there is. It's more.
Yeah.
I'm asking these questions so that they're answered on the video, so that when the video is published, then people know what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had to go for the 22nd because obviously the 29th, and I know the 22nd has got FDT event going on in
That Battle Royale game.
Yeah, the Battle Royale.
Because Al's already said that he was hoping to be able to come, but obviously when he realised what the date was, he ain't going to be able to because obviously it clashes. With that as well, we didn't move it to the following weekend because the following weekend, the 29th of March, is Mother's Day. So we thought that probably would go down just as much as because we've had an event before now. I think one of the INW ones, we put a date down and that landed on a Mother's Day and we had to change it.
I don't know. For me, it being Mother's Day is actually a good thing because then if I'm in Blackpool, my mum's in Harrogate, and it's like I'm actually closer than. But I don't think she'd like it if I was like, oh, here's your flowers, bye. Where are you going? Going to shoot people. Even though I'm old enough to know better.
As I say, there will be others because, like I said, I touched on earlier, the venue was very excited. Lisa and her husband were very excited with how it went for our first event, and they're eager to hold more.
And if you can run one in May, like there's an event in May on the 10th, or rather it's on the 11th. It's Sunday the 11th. So if we ran it on the 10th, then I don't have to travel all the way to London in one day. I can come to Blackpool and play Nerf and then drive down the rest of the day and play Nerf in caves in London as well.
Because that was the other thing we touched on with them as well. Because obviously the event was on Sunday. And discussing and they were chatting with some of the players and that, and you like yourselves, Spectre having to shoot with and Hazard, and obviously Ben and PJ and Harding, they had to go earlier
in the other direction, because they're all the way from London.
Because obviously PJ had, obviously like you say, they have to go all the way to London, and PJ had work in the next morning. We discussed that as well with them. And broached the subject of potentially getting it on a Saturday.
And I imagine surely that's one of their busiest days, though.
But then obviously, and we discussed it with them, and obviously with the way it went on at that event, and they were like, if we could get a Saturday, we could probably not guarantee, but almost guarantee whatever set amount of figures we set. Players wise, we can get them, we'll fill them, and if we can get a similar amount of place time for the day, we'll be able to fill it again for the day. And
you think it would support? You think it would support 20 players in at 5v5 if you're doing the
possibly? That's what we're looking at.
Yeah, I think it could absolutely support 20. You might get to 24. But
they're in favour of letting us have it on a Saturday.
Cool,
beautiful,
cracking.
Which will help with the likes of like yourselves on that last event and PJ and Harding if they ever make the trip. Which they said again, if there's more events and it's that sort of time playing time, they'll probably make the trip again at some point in the future.
The benefits of being able to get a day's worth of game out of it, like even though it means for me coming down the day before and staying overnight because I'm not a morning person. Like I hazard mad person that they are, drove down on the Sunday morning, played the full game, and then drove back. Like I could do that, but I'd rather just pay 20 quid and go to a guest house for the night before.
And Sarah and I have got the luxury of
we
being
also,
able to swap over drivers, so we
yeah,
can do the whole
we
up
were
and
just
down.
conscious that obviously a lot of players, when we put potential future events on, would one of the deciding factors of whether they went or not would be the fact that whether they had work the next day or not,
Yeah.
etc. Like on the Monday,
Yeah.
And we put that to them, and we said, look, we could pretty much, we won't 100% because obviously then we're liable. Said, but we could pretty much vouch for if you let us have a Saturday, every time we put an event on, we'll fill it. Because people don't have to rush off. They're more inclined to come down, and you'll get more of the nerfing seats, people seen, as it were, because they don't have to get back to work for the Monday morning.
Yeah.
And like I said, they were like, okay, yeah, understand that. They had a quick discussion pretty much there and then and came back, right, yeah, okay. Well, you can have Saturdays. Which I think is another sort of like pointer into how much they also want to pursue this as well and keep it going forward.
It is certainly lovely
like that. They're willing to let us have it on a Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, considering on you go, Spectre.
No, I was going to say, I think, yeah, like certainly one of the problems that we've encountered with other sites, and I want to be clear that this is not the case with these guys at all. It's the absolute opposite. But like we've had sites that have cancelled bookings on us the day before because they could get more money out of a day's worth of Airsoft day players. So for them to be like, yeah, we want to support what you're doing. We want to diversify our kind of tagging sports in our arena. That's amazing, and we absolutely want to reward that.
Yeah,
and frankly, like 130 and 180 games in the north, like something I don't have to drive 7 hours to play. Yes, please, more of that. Thank you.
Yeah. It's certainly something that I can echo as well, and that's pretty much the same sentiment I was going to go. We've all heard from various different organisers, current and past, that one of the problems is the response rate from venues, or the prices that they're wanting you to pay, or some of the absolutely arbitrary rules that they want to imply to put on you in terms of bits and pieces. And you're just thinking, like, you're a venue, you're trying to fill up spaces and keep your place going. Why make things more complicated? And then for a venue to come along this place and say, yes, please come back, bring more people, let's do more events. Yeah, like, yes, absolutely. What can we do to support that? So yeah, it's fantastic to hear. It really is.
Just have to not let them down.
And I'm sure we won't. I just also have to not break stuff when they go there. So, any closing thoughts, chaps?
I would say that anybody that's watching this video that's on the fence about attending these games, don't be. Come play. They're excellent.
At the very least, it's worth a try. I'm glad I went for the first kind of game.
For yourself, I think that's one of the big takeaways for you, BenDy, is that it was the unknown. It's very much not your usual environment for playing, and you thoroughly enjoyed it, and yeah. I know it's like, for something like me, playing indoors would be something to be quite used to. I just had my reservations, although you said I couldn't attend because of annual leave problems, but knowing that from the pictures that you shared, the absolute nature of the venue and what it was, what we thought you were going into and what you actually went into were entirely separate things. But just made me think, balls, I missed that. Would have loved to have gone to that, So yes, I will be very much endeavouring to try and get there for the next one. You know,
Okay.
or possible. With that, if there's nothing else, I think we can draw this episode to a close. You all good? Or is there anything else? Any other business?
Nothing
Not
from me.
that
In which case,
No.
then, that's what we'll do. We'll wrap up this episode there. So, this has been episode 10. Thank you very much to my guests there. And we'll be back for episode 11, where we'll be joined by Blind Geek UK and various other meth toddlers for discussions of Eyeballs 3. Catch you next episode.